Hello, all you beautiful people out there. Welcome to another show here on Heavenly Hills Homestead, where the times just keep rolling. So Chad, he's going to be a little bit late. He's catching an emu. There's an emu running around somewhere in Colorado, and he's rounding it up. So poor Chad, y'all say a prayer for him because I'm sure he's having fun chasing a ostrich-sized bird through Colorado. Parker, Colorado, to be more exact. I hope he's got some footage of that. That's going to be great. But anyhow, thanks for joining us tonight. We're just going to talk and chat a little bit until Chad gets here. And so if you got any comments, questions, concerns, whatever, go ahead and ask them. I'll answer as much as I can about this season. Next week, we have Travis Ginger and Randall from Extreme Gardening coming on with us. So that'll be a lot of fun there, too. So, yeah, good for him. Sounds like fun. Yeah, it does. Sounds like a lot of fun. Oh, goodness, him running around chasing that bird. That's going to – I just hope he's got footage. That's all I hope. I hope he's got lots of footage from it because I want to see him out there chasing an emu. So, multitasking ATM building pumpkin pallets. That's what you're doing. You're building a pumpkin pallet. That's cool. I gotta do some arranging on some pumpkin pallets and stuff. Hey there, Carol. How you doing? So yeah, as soon as Chad jumps in here, we'll get right to it. But like I say, if you guys got any questions for me, feel free to ask. Like I said, we're just gonna buy some time until he gets in here. So kind of talking right now, I broke the parsnip record today. I did get my 20th state record today. So we have 20 now. We're still working on a couple through the agricultural department to get them to recognize some of them. So I may have as high as you know, I don't know, like 21, 22 right now, but legitimately we've got 20 right now. So we'll keep those going. And then yesterday I broke the rutabaga record again. So the rutabaga record is now at 31 pounds, 6.5 ounces. So we grew another. We grew another one that I thought was going to be heavier, and it started getting a little funky. Yesterday I went over and I've been knocking on it every day religiously. Just go over, knock all the way around it, make sure we didn't have any hollow root rot going on. But I found on the side of it, some of the skin was kind of sloughing off and got me a little worried, right? And so I pulled it, weighed it, and you'll see that in a video that I'm going to probably release tonight. But anyhow, it didn't go down. It was still solid as rock. I think it was just growing and kind of splitting a little bit and had a little funk to it. So I'm going to try to plant it back and see if it'll grow and turn out some seeds. I don't know. I've not had very much luck with replanting them. So we're going to try it and see what happens. May work, may not work. I don't know. But we'll try it out and just see. So let's see here. What do we got? So Jason's, 5x5 standard. Right. Yeah. The pallets are, sometimes a little narrow, right? So let's see here. What is the most important fertilizer to use where I'm at? I mean, I use a lot of biologics, a lot of biologics. I've seen so much difference in using biologics more than the fertilizer this year that I really can't knock it. You know, it's using as much as I've used it. I was talking to Travis Ginger today, and he was he was asking like, well, what do you contribute all these fruit going heavy for? And there's a couple things that I contribute to them going heavy. One is biochar. I think that has helped tremendously. The second reason why I think that they're going heavy is the amount of biologics that I'm using. I think that has a lot to do with it. I really didn't use a lot of fertilizer this year, guys, compared to what I did a lot of compost teas. and, a lot of biological stuff, in there. And that has really helped me out more than anything. It's just worked. So I didn't fertilize that much. My wife was kind of jumping on me the other day. You should have fertilized more. You look how big they are. And if you would have fertilized, think how big they are. And it's like, probably not really much bigger because it's been very cold here. Like, guys, September 19th, and I've got jogging pants on and a hoodie. No, either I'm getting old really, really fast or it's cold outside. All right. And I know I ain't getting old. I mean, well, I'm getting old, but I ain't getting old that quick, and it's cold in this house. It's cold outside, and I've got this stuff on. So I think people really need to look into, Azos, Mycos, Versity, those types of things. Those things help out a ton. Those are your biologics, your compost teas. Those help out tremendously. And then, amend your soil properly, right? So here's what I'm going to do between now and next year. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I've already got a buttload of compost put out there. You'll see that in a couple videos. But I have put a ton of compost already out, and I'm going to continue to put a bunch of compost out. We'll till all that in and try to get whatever seeds are in there to pop up now. But I need to break this clay up. The clay is just killing me. I can't grow past what I've got this year, probably, in anything clay. Like, it's not working. The clay works against me. As much as I can till it up and try to amend it and do things with it, it's just way, way, way too much clay. And it just compacts, and you don't have to walk on it. It just compacts, the rain compacts it. So get your soil right. If you can get the right texture of soil, the right amount of nutrients in the soil, and the right balance of, your microbes and biologics, that's going to help a ton. I really don't think you need all these different types of fertilizer. Are they going to need fertilizer? Yes. They're going to need some calcium and magnesium, so you're going to have to use CalMag. They're going to need boron. They're going to need these things, right? They're going to need all the micros, and some of them in excess, right? But are they going to require as much nitrogen, as much phosphorus and potassium as what I have put down in the past? Not from what I'm seeing. I have put that down throughout the season, just not heavily, and we've went heavy to chart. I am not a grower that goes heavy to chart. You can go back and look at 2021 when I started. 2022 was my second year last year, and you can see I don't go heavy to chart. I go light to chart, sometimes way light to chart, So I had like two last. I had one that was 9% last year. No, take it back. I had one that was 11% last year. Then I had one that was 2% and one that was 3% and one that was 5%. The big ones were 2 and 3%. The small ones that were 500-ish pounds were 5% and 11%. Okay. So you really, if they would have been bigger, would that percentage have been less? Probably. All right. So, this year though, I've had big pumpkins, decent, not huge pumpkins, big pumpkins, and they've went heavy. I've went 9 to 11% heavy on every one of them. So if the big one out there, the real big one out there, does anywhere near, and the two other ones that are decent sized, do anywhere near that, we're looking at some really, probably the biggest pumpkins I've ever grown. So, let's sit back up here and see some more of these comments here. Harvey, yeah, I seen Harvey. I was looking at big pumpkins last night. And you had that one that went 24% heavy. Congratulations on that, man. That's great. That's knocking it out of the park, man. Congratulations on that for sure. Biologics is just your Azos, Mycos, your Versity. It's the biology in your soil, right? So your mycorrhizas, your fungi, your bacterias, your other microbes and stuff like that. That's what biologics are. I think let me see here. I'll tell you what day mine is. The one I'm bringing is going to be 78 days old on Friday when I pull it. So that's the oldest pumpkin I have. It's 78 days. And if it goes heavy, I'm excited for Friday. I've never had a pumpkin that you can put your ear up to and smack it anywhere on that pumpkin, even right beside your head, and you don't hear nothing but the smack outside. You don't hear nothing through the cavity at all. Like you put it up there, smack, 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 you don't hear nothing. So it's them other ones that were 9 and 11% heavy this year. You can hear a little bass, boop, 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 but you can't even hear that in that thing. That thing, it's dense. I mean, just it's crazy because if you look at it, it don't like I got my arms in this one picture spread all the way out, man, and the pumpkin. Hang on a minute, I'll show y'all. Pumpkin's big. I don't know if y'all can see that. Probably not. But it's not very, can't see it very good because of the glare, but it's a big old rascal. A big old rascal. So I hope yours goes heavy too, man. I hope it goes heavy. Humic acid helps a lot. But here's the thing, Jason. I bet you in the past, let's just say 2 years. We won't even go back to 2020. Let's do the past 2 years. I bet you I've dumped $4,000 or more of humic acid on that patch. That's just guessing, probably low. I've put a pile of it in there. Harvey, I've put loads of that out there has got loads of sand in it, Harvey, and it's just not doing it. Pumice, I've tried to look for pumice, and it's just you're not going to find. You can't. There's no. People don't understand. Like here in West Virginia, there's no grower hub, right? There's no place where growers can go and get stuff, right? Like I mean, you're lucky to find compost. If you find sphagnum peat moss in a store, you better buy every stinking bag of it because you're not going to get it more than once. Because once it's gone in the spring, that's it. It's gone. You ain't getting no more. It's just that it's a farm driven community. It's not a grower kind of deal, right? So there's no little ma pa stores where you can go and like buy special fertilizers or any of that stuff here. It's just not that. It's not that way. So it's kind of hard to find that stuff. I tried to find some other things, to instead of, I tried to even find, what's that other crap called? It's not really good for it. It's little white stuff. It's not pumice. It's the other little stuff. I can't think of it. It floats up to the top if you're growing like indoors and stuff. I can't think of the name of it. Anyways, that there's just nothing here for us to be able to get. Hey, what's going on, Hatton Homestead? You got a big one up there too. That's good, man. That's good. You did good this year. Yeah, perlite. That's what it is, Hatton. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But yeah, there's nothing here. So it's just kind of, you just kind of got to get what you can and do the best you can with what you get. So that's why I said, using the compost and some more biochar to kind of help break it up would be my best thing to do. I mean, I've put, oh God, I don't even know how much sand is in there, and it's not helped. It's not helped a bit. It's just weird because you can go out there and till that crap up And I mean, it'll be loose. You can grab a handful of it, and it's like sand running out of your hand. But as soon as it starts getting water on it, you don't even have to walk on it. Just water it. I was just watering with drip. All right. For the majority of the summer, I just watered drip, and it packed it down to where the roots came back up to the top, and you can see them climbing all over. They were looking for oxygen and stuff. You can't grow like that. You just cannot grow like that. The plant roots need oxygen, and that heavy soil is just a killer, man. It is a definite killer. So I was just telling Hematite Homestead, I said, look, best thing I can tell you is put half, like if you got a certain amount of compost you want to put down, like for next year, the best thing I can say is put half of it down now, till it in, and then come back and put the other half on top of it, and then just plant in that. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. It's kind of like what Andrews does, right? So Andrews, he brings in these truckloads full of dirt, right? And he dumps it on top of the dirt from the past year, from what it looks like, and he plants directly in that, and then he grows on it. And it looks like he does pretty well to me. I mean, he grows some massive pumpkins on it. So kind of just going to do that, like till it in, and, let it set over wintertime, have a cover crop and everything on it. And then next spring, come in and dump the other half that I want on there on top of it and plant directly on there. And hopefully, that'll give, roughly a foot of decent dirt for the roots to be in. And then, then I won't have to worry as much about compaction until it gets lower, And there's some other things that I'm going to be doing this year in the patch before all that gets done. I'm going to be digging some trenches in there and putting some gravel down, probably 3 to 4 foot deep, and put a foot worth of gravel down in there and make water chambers all along through there. I'm going to try to build a cold frame over it where I can start them earlier, take the cold frame off of it, and just some different things that I'm going to try to do to kind of help give that little bit of ease. And so if the weather doesn't get good next year early enough, no big deal. I'll be able to still plant early and not have to wait until it does get pretty enough to do it, which is my biggest thing right now. I refuse to buy them stupid hut houses because I see it all the time. People buy these hut houses, put the pumpkins, in the hut houses. Then the pumpkins get so big and the weather ain't broke, and then they're outgrowing the hut houses, or a windstorm comes through, which we get horrible wind here. I'm talking really, really bad. And it just flips them over and breaks the plants and all that stuff. And I just don't want to do that. And that seems like a lot of aggravation. So I think I'm going to stay away from the hut houses or hoop houses, whatever you want to call it, and just build me a small, well, not a small, but a cold frame that will encompass the entire patch, 90 foot by 22 foot. But then I'd be able to go back and take the plastic off, or I can put windscreen up on it and leave it like that to help keep, hail damage and stuff like that away. So, I mean, there's some options there. And so I'm going to look at some of those options this winter and see if we can work something out like that. So, dang, super lame. You're very lucky to live up there, man. Very, very lucky. Because like I said, well, I mean, even in the area you live in, Oregon, and Washington, California, all those guys have access to stuff because of the marijuana growers. If marijuana was grown here, we would start finding shops like that. I mean, I've thought about opening up a shop. I mean, it's not like I couldn't. I've had plenty of sponsors say, "Hey, we'll send you stuff, just and you can sell it," And so I mean, I could do that, but where's the market? You know what I mean? Outside of giant pumpkin growers, which there's not a ton of us here in West Virginia, where's the market for me to be able to make any profit for them? So that's another reason why I've not done it. Now, if they ever legalize marijuana and said, yeah, this is legal now, and people started, growing it all over the state, I would definitely do it then, because then there would be, a way to, profit from it, right? Like, because your normal gardeners are not going to grow it. They're not going to use those specialty products, pumice. They're not going to use the special fertilizers and all that stuff. most of these guys around here go get Miracle Grow, which is horrible, right? But they'll go get Miracle Grow and spray all over it, and that's what they use. So, yeah, I mean, it just would not be conducive for me to try to sell those types of products here, because nobody would buy them. So, I mean, even the hemp growers might, maybe. I mean, but there's not a ton of hemp growers here. So, let's see, Tractor Supply already moved. Yep. That's what I'm saying. Tractor Supply does it. Royal King does it. Lowe's does it. How dare you want to plant a fall garden and put radishes and beets and stuff in there? They done took all the seeds out that you would plant in the fall, took all them out. Now they got Halloween stuff up. And it's like, who's going to buy this? I was walking through Lowe's the other day, and this wife was yelling at her husband. She was like, I'm not spending another $5,000 on Halloween stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you spent $5,000? No, it was $10,000. That's what it was, wasn't it? $10,000 on Halloween stuff. She said, I'm not spending another $10,000 on Halloween stuff. I'm thinking, man, I could think of so much things I could do with $10,000 besides buy Halloween decorations. You know what I mean? Like, my pumpkin patch would be legit. $1,675, man. Oh, are you serious? You got a bad spot? Hey, Jesus loving homesteader, how you doing? How y'all doing? I can't believe you got a bad spot in that, man. That stinks. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying, Harvey. Like, a lot of the companies that sponsor me, they're marijuana companies for the most part, and it's a specialty product, right? And it's not that it only works on marijuana; it works on everything, and it works really well on everything. It's trying to convince the mindset of people that Miracle Grow is legitimately bad, and you don't have to agree with marijuana growers. A lot of people don't. There's a lot of people here that look down on that, right? And so you don't really have to agree with what they grow, but know that what they grow is really good, because they use all natural or more natural like products. They will not use Miracle Grow. I can tell you that right now. So they're using things, that are very, very helpful. Oh, thank you. Unlike milk, does the body good. Y'all remember that? But seriously, they use the best products they can find to grow their marijuana, or even hemp if they're growing hemp for CBD, and then they showcase it, right? And so there's so much out there that people don't know. So like Billy Bob down the street here, you're not going to convince him that the blue stuff in the bag is bad stuff. You're not. Well, I grow tomatoes, this big and blah, 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 blah. And so you're just not going to convince him of using anything different, especially if it costs more than Miracle Grow, because he's not going to see the rate of return on that, right? And he doesn't really care what he puts in his body. I care what I put in my body. I care what my kids put in their body. So therefore, I use things that are more natural, right? That aren't going to be harmful, and made out of heavy metals. Oh man, I got an awesome wife. I got a brownie, y'all. But yeah, I mean, it's just what it is, So yeah, extreme gardening, man. I tell you, I'm really thankful for that one. That was a great sponsorship right there. And again, you guys can see it in my growing. Like it's like I was talking to Travis today, and I was like, dude, I really think the biologics are the way to go. I mean, from all I can see, like, not knocking anybody, are biologics alone going to grow it? No. But the biologics being in the soil definitely help help the uptake of those nutrients that are there or available or when you do fertilize, right? And so I really like that stuff. People argue with me all the time. Yeah. Right, exactly. I mean, that's right. Jesus loving homesteader. I mean, it's not putting them down for using it, but there's better alternatives than Miracle Grow. I mean, if they knew what Miracle Grow was and was put in, and like for people who don't know that might watch this later, so Miracle Grow, the reason why I quit using it is, and things like it, is because they literally take heavy metals. They buy heavy metals from companies that are, what would be a word for this? More or less scrap, right? It's just more or less scrap. So people need a place to get rid of the heavy metals. Miracle Grow buys it, turns it into fertilizer. Okay, so then you're going to spray in your garden with heavy metals. I mean, and you don't have to believe me. You can go and watch John Cultivar or something like that, I think. It's Grow Your Own Greens on YouTube. You can go watch him. He'll tell you all about it. Just, I mean, he's got plenty of information out there on Miracle Grow and stuff. And so, I mean, I won't use it. Right, exactly. It destroys the soil and the salt content that's in it. I mean, you're building up salts in your soil. We don't want that, So, I mean, there's just tons of stuff that I've learned, right? I didn't know all these things. I just learned them as I was growing. Our pumpkin tomato. Yeah, see, I mean, it all adds up, right? It all adds up. So you definitely can use it to harness different skills, right? Like I grow this stuff to learn, like, for instance, I'll grow the rutabagas, and that kind of helps me grow, my carrots and stuff, right? I can kind of see what they're doing on the outside because they grow above the ground more than they grow below the ground. So maybe it helps. There's all kinds of things that you can do to kind of help you with different grows. Soil disease, cracking. Man, it stinks. Well, I mean, I've had a lot of soil-borne diseases too in my stuff, and that stuff right there behind me, that's helped out a ton. I mean, it was not nearly as bad this year, right? Like the pressure was pretty insignificant compared to years past. So, I mean, it helped quite a bit. Yeah, Azos and Mycos is some great stuff. I mean, it's and Adversity is really good stuff too. They really do. Yes, they do. They help a lot with soil diseases. They sure do. Right. You don't need synthetic. You don't need synthetic nitrogen. I mean, there's plenty, like Smart Pots. I just did a video today of their grow bag, or not grow bag, excuse me. I did one on their grow bag for a milk crate, but I also did the compost bag, right? And I mean, it's really simple. I mean, and anybody can compost, I mean, it's super easy to do. It loads your soil full of the nutrients that you need and the beneficials that you need. It's like when we cleaned out this compost pile beside the house this past weekend, and we moved it over there against the fence. That compost was full of mycelium, natural mycelium that was from a local, right? Now that's going to be all in my compost. When I put it on my patch of stuff, I'm going to have local mycelium in the soil. It's what you want. You want that beneficial bacteria and fungi, and the natural nitrogen and everything else that you can get from nature. Yeah. We'll see you later, Morning Light. Take next year off. I probably should. I probably should be right there with you. Grow some field. Hey, I got some field pumpkin seeds for you, buddy. I got some for you. So these out here, that one that I weighed last week, the new state record, man, I wish that thing wouldn't have got a soft stem on it. Oh my goodness. And then I was cleaning out my patch yesterday, and that thing, it had one in there. The stem was this long and the fruit was that long. I didn't even see it till I done ripped everything out. Should have paid more attention, but oh well. Chad's chasing an emu around Parker, Colorado right now, and I'm hoping he's getting some footage because he was pretty upset about it. So let me see if he's wrote anything. No, he ain't. Hang on. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, he wrote me. So he should be getting on right now. I guess he finally caught it. So I didn't hear my phone go off. Sorry, y'all. But yeah, Chad should be coming on. There you go. See, I'm Jesus Loving Homestead. It's a lot of fun. So, and I got to get your seeds out. I haven't forgot you. I got everything. I got seeds laid out for multiple different people. I just got to get them put in the mail. So I was trying to wait for some of these other seeds to dry out some more so I could send them to you as well. So then I would send it all at once. So, but as soon as they should be done now, I think. So I'll go look tomorrow and get them ready. Plus, we've been picking up pumpkins. And I got some pretty cool news for you guys that if you've not been watching lately, so you can go back and watch last week's live stream. The football player, Chris Long, is going to float a pumpkin down the Delaware and break the world record for floating in a pumpkin the longest distance in a pumpkin down a river. And so I've been helping with that, watching my pumpkin, and just trying to make sure it's been a little hectic around here. That's why there's not been very many videos, and that's why I've been pretty scatterbrained, because I'm just trying to get all my ducks in a row to make sure that this happens and goes smoothly for everybody, myself and them included. So it's been a little hectic around here. He probably kicked back in a recliner, the bag of Funyuns. That's funny. He probably. Let me see here. But yeah, he was chasing it around. He said an emu escaped. We'll keep you up to date trying to wrangle this dumb thing. So he's pretty upset. I just hope he got some footage of it, Hatton, because I want to see him chasing that emu. I just want to see it. Oh, here he is. We got him.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good, man. Hey, so how did the wrangling go?
It was a nightmare. Like wrangling a 200-pound chicken with a 4-foot neck.
Did you get any video
Real
of it?
blast. No.
No? Daggone it. I was hoping you get some video.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah. That was I'm sorry, I had a good laugh at your expense. So
Oh no, it was worthwhile laughing. It was humorous.
How'd it get out? It just jumped the fence or what?
Yeah, one of the neighbor kids had a ball or something come over, and he opened the gate and didn't shut it correctly, so then it went bye-bye.
Okay. Yeah. Well, those things happen.
It happens, but we got it. No harm, no foul.
Pun intended.
Right? Hey-o.
That's funny. So, how's your season been going?
I checked out a few weeks ago, and I don't think I would get to hit 2,000 pounds, so I stopped. I stopped putting forth as much effort as I would like, and instead been doing things with the kids and went on some trips, and it's been fun. So it's good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 2,000 pounds is a pretty tall order, you know? So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty large pumpkin. So,
And our weather this year, I mean, I talk about it in every one of the videos I did. It's just been, I mean, we had probably a quarter of an inch of rain earlier, and just the amount of rain and 40-degree night and 100-degree
yep.
day. Colorado is famously inconsistent, but we had that to the extreme this go around. Just massive temperature swings, and it just wasn't meant to be this year.
That's what we've had here. I mean, nobody would believe me, but I sent some pictures to some guys, and I was like, here's a 4-month-old long gourd, and it's not even 8 foot long, right? And they're like tall, the plant, and they were like, "That's 4 months old." And I said, "Yeah." I was like, 90-degree days and low 50, high 40 at night. You're not growing anything.
No,
Even
the agricultural farmers here are having a horrible year. There's a lady, about a mile up the street from us who she's a flower farmer, and she's like, this year's killing me. I've had what'd she say? She said she quadrupled the amount of flowers that she planted, like dahlias and zinnias and all of those things. And she's like, I've had a third of the harvest with quadruple the amount of plants. So
that's insane.
Just a crummy year for growing things in Colorado. But on the bright side, we have more water than we can shake a stick at. So that's good. My well won't run out anytime soon, hopefully.
Right. Well, we've not had really much any rain at all here. We've pretty much in a drought. So that's been kind of the bad part here. I mean, I can put as much water as I want down because I got a well and I can just run it. But I mean, the rain has just been non-existent. So a lot of people are probably going to be like, well, Chad grows in a greenhouse, so Chad should be okay. Why don't you explain to them why Chad's not okay growing in a greenhouse?
Just because you grow in a greenhouse doesn't mean that you don't have challenges. Like my greenhouse specifically is built for heat. I have, if we have my greenhouse is this big, I have my exhaust fans over here and my wet wall over here, which is basically just a swamp cooler. It's water, cold water running over pads, and that evaporative that sucks out the air, drawing the air across the cool water to cool the greenhouse. So that's all fine and dandy when it's really hot. When it's cold, that means I have a big open end, and I don't have a shutter, and they make shutters, and I probably could, and I probably should put a shutter on there, but without any sort of active heat in my greenhouse, it doesn't retain heat well. Like it may retain heat for an hour or two, with my climate battery, but past that, it rapidly reaches whatever temperature it is outside. So if it's 40 degrees outside, eventually it will be 40 degrees inside my greenhouse. So the benefit is that the moment the sun comes up, it goes from 40 to 90 in an instant, and then I can keep it cool. But what really stymies plants, especially late season, is cold, not so much heat. So when it's sunny and the sun's up, I'm fine, I'm good, I can control the heat very well. Cold, I have no solution for, unless I want to. My buddy Calvin did the math. It would have been like we could install some radiant heaters in there. That would cost maybe $5,000. Not a amount of money I'm not willing to spend. But then it was like $8,000 in propane or gas. I'm like, that's extreme even for me.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, you just got to. These are just pumpkins that we're growing for fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, who can afford to grow pumpkins for fun at that kind of cost? You know what I'm saying? Like that's a very, very, it's already an expensive hobby. You go adding that, it has went from one extreme to the other,
Yeah.
So,
that's ridiculous. I mean, I buy all of my stuff, I pretty much buy everything on Black Friday. That's when I have my list, and I have my websites that I go to try and keep costs as manageable as possible, to spend the least amount possible on our silly hobby, really.
Right.
So yeah, any way I could save money, I'm all for it. So spending yearly $6,000 on propane or natural gas to heat the greenhouse, I don't know. Maybe when I'm retired and I don't have kids and I have disposable income, but these kids are bleeding me dry.
Right. Hey, kids will do it, man. I mean, fast. I got 3 of them running around. It's like, didn't I just buy a jug of milk yesterday? Why am I got another jug today? What in the world?
Yeah.
It's always something, right? But
the way it is, just crazy.
Right. So the other thing, though, because people have this, this common misconception that if you grow in a greenhouse, you're not prone to any of the bad things that outdoor growers are, and that's not true, obviously. But do you think soil cables would have helped any at all?
I do think so. I do have a climate battery in my greenhouse, and greenhouse growers definitely have a whole different set of challenges than open air growers do. But even soil cables would help. In the early season, like I mentioned, it still gets cold in my greenhouse. So, my soil, just like everybody else's soil, doesn't really fully warm up until it's just hot.
Right.
It's consistently hot and the nights aren't cold. And I forget who it was. It might have been Brad, another great Colorado guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jason, I think Jason did too. Maybe. Those 2 guys, they did heat cables, and their plants were significantly bigger than mine at the same time. And Brad has a greenhouse and Jason has a structure, but they were way ahead of me. And I think that a good chunk of that probably is maybe Del might want it. My wife's asking me if we want to save leftovers.
Okay.
A good chunk of that is they had soil cables. They could be that much better than me. That's entirely possible because they're very smart dudes. But the biggest thing that they did that I didn't do is soil cables. And Teresa too, my local club president.
Right.
We're off to a great start, and she had soil cables, and I've always kind of poo-pooed them. I'm like, I don't need no soil cables, but I think I'm changing my tune.
Right. And, that's kind of like where I was at with it this year. I think that soil cables will help, and I think I'm going to build a, kind of a half structure around it. And, that way I can, take the plastic off in the summer, put screen up in the summer, or like take the plastic off in the summer, put the screen up for the summer. And then, maybe that'll help some, then go back to plastic during the fall time. So, how big guesstimation would you say the pumpkins are? You ain't got to tell us exactly, but are you anywhere close to where you were last year?
I don't know. We're playing that game this time of the year where we
don't talk.
I'm sandbagging.
Yeah.
I typically don't like to play those games. I don't really care. But this year, because I only have 2 pumpkins, and I know they're like in our area, there's some people have really stepped it up. So like I might have to start playing the game a little bit because I want to try, and I know I'm not going to make 2,000 pounds. That's here and gone. Rumor on the street is that might be some 2,000-pound pumpkins coming our way from maybe multiple states. So I think I know where they're going, but I don't know. We'll say it's bigger than a loaf of bread, but smaller than a school bus.
Okay. All right. There we go. Well, what about your watermelon?
My watermelon, I looked at it today. I think the watermelon is probably I don't know. I'm pulling a number out of my a-hole. It's probably like 150-ish pounds,
Man, it's still
somewhere around
good.
there. I really haven't measured it, and like I said, the lights are on, but nobody's home. As far as I put my watering on automatic, and
Does its thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. What about the tomatoes? Are the tomatoes still doing good, pretty good, or?
So I made a video, and I was actually making a video today. I got the state record twice on my tomatoes. I did one that was like 5.1 and then 5.5 pounds. So I beat the state record 2 times.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. You did good then.
Right.
So,
I wish I would have, because I harvested 5 tomatoes, and there was probably like, I don't know, 30 some odd pounds worth of tomatoes across the 5. So then I was like, I should have only had 1 tomato per plant, but there was so much plant I couldn't tell which one went to what plant.
Yep.
And but I really enjoyed the tomatoes. That was a lot of fun this year. And the watermelon. The watermelon was really cool. It's fun to see things that you don't expect to, see them hugified. At this point, we're kind of numb to giant pumpkins.
We are.
Other than a pumpkin, it's just like, you get some of that shine back and think it's really cool.
Did you see that there was a butternut that was 124.5 pounds, I think is what it was?
And yeah. In in an onion, there was like a 19.5 pound.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah.
So, like, next year, you're going to try anything different? Like giant field pumpkins or something?
I really want to get to the point where I don't lose my late season where I don't lose motivation late in the season. I always think of it as, you start the season and your cup is full, and you only have X amount of hours of give a crap that you're willing to invest into, your gardening hobby. So
right.
When I have 2 pumpkins and a tomato plant and 2 watermelons and a garden alongside of the greenhouse and, 3 raised garden beds and, what else, all the other stuff that you want to do throughout the year, that just, in my mind, that drains my tank better or a lot quicker rather.
Right.
Like I wanted to do long gourds and I just never got around to doing it. And, I want to do this, that, and the other thing. But ultimately, like, I really want to grow just a 2,000-pound pumpkin. So I think I might just do 2 pumpkins straight up next year. I might even try 1, like really blow the bank and maybe get like a really good seed or something. Or I kind of want to grow my 1783.
Yep. There's been a lot of questions about that in the chat over here.
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 really big pumpkins out there that are fluorescent orange. And I thought the 1643 would have been the one to grow, but I was wrong on that. I should have grown my biggest one.
So, like, here's my question. Hang on one second. Y'all be quiet. Bounce. Thank you. Sorry, dude. Anyways,
that's why I'm in the garage.
What is it?
I said that's why I'm in the garage.
Oh, okay. I need a garage so I can go somewhere else. I need a man cave. But this year I grew my 665, which last year that was a fruit that went severely heavy because of a concave underneath it. Well, it taped like 727, ended up weighing 625. And whenever we lifted it, it had this big concave under it. Well, anyhow, I grew it, and that is the biggest pumpkin I have ever grown.
Nice.
So, do you think that it's as much the seed as it is the weather and what we are capable of doing ourselves? Right?
It's all of those. It's all of those. Your giant pumpkin, giant anything, growing anything giant size is all about, your risk mitigation. What factors can you maximize and minimize to get the most potential out of whatever it is you're doing. So if you want to grow a giant pumpkin, you want to fertilize it, and which are the best fertilizers, and what protection can you give the plant, and how early can you start it, and then it goes to what seeds have the most proven track record of growing giants. The 2365 Wolf. I mean, that is the hottest of the hot seeds. I know there's a few of them out there, and I bet you those seeds next year or this winter will probably be $500, $600, $700, $800 seeds.
Right.
So those are, you're just trying to eliminate any weakness possible, and give it the full ass. So, if you can get seeds that are proven with the traits that you want, and then we as pumpkin growers or breeders, we're trying to play mad scientist and combine the traits that we like into one another, then that's just another form of risk mitigation. So when I made the state record, I thought that my bright orange pumpkin that was in and itself heavy would pass that along. It's not that I didn't think that the state record was a great seed, but that state record took some of the Tiger King, or retained rather, the Tiger King genetics in it, rather than Dad, which was a kind of a creamy orange pumpkin. And now hopefully we'll see how those pumpkins do, but fingers crossed we'll have heavy, bright orange pumpkins. But you never know until you grow it. I mean, it's a who knows until people put that seed in the ground. And thankfully, I give away so many seeds that a fair bit of mine are grown, and they report back, and people send me pictures, and it's really awesome to see what they're doing. So because of that, now I'm pretty darn confident that one of my own seeds can grow a 2,000-pound pumpkin and be a bright orange one to boot.
Right. Well, I got a question about that too. Do you ever think that, and I'm not saying that nobody take this the wrong way, because I think giving them away is awesome, and I give a lot of mine away. But do you think that for the ones that gave away, that get grown by newer growers, and the ones that get grown by more established growers, do you think that brings down the number of success, and then possibly would make a hot seed like the 1783 not so hot?
Potentially, what could Ron Wallace do with a 1783 versus little Timmy and his mom?
Right.
If little Timmy and his mom grow a 1,500-pound pumpkin, then that tells me that there's something there, because chances are little Timmy and his mom are not as experienced as a Ron Wallace caliber, or anybody, Mike Schmidt, Don Barron,
right,
et cetera. Benjamin, the laundry list is long of
right.
growers. So, I always take that with a grain of salt. So like when some of the people that are sending me pictures of the pumpkins that they grew, who are new growers, and their investment in the hobby is like, I'm going to send this guy that I watch on YouTube a seed request and throw it in the ground next to my salsa garden, and it spits out 1,000-pound pumpkin. It's like, ooh, there might be something there.
Right.
Not necessarily, that's any number of seeds, because every year the genetics get better. We're always getting better. And if you listen to Ron Wallace or the Peyton brothers, they kind of think like, oh yeah, it's like the 3,000-pound pumpkin is coming, but we're not there yet. And they mean genetically speaking. So every year we get a little bit closer. Every year it gets a little bit better. And you just, try to choose those seeds that are proven, if you have the ability to do so. If you're, once you get to the point where you're serious,
right,
then, you grow less rookie seeds, and you tend towards the seeds that have proven pedigree behind them.
Right. And that makes sense. So, because I like growing my own seeds only because I want to see what I can do with them. You know what I mean? And I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, if it went light, it'll probably always go light. And I think that we're going to be proving them wrong this year with that one out there. But, I do believe that we are there kind of close to that 3,000 pound mark. But I also think that we're not there without the use of Florel. Have you used any Florel this year?
I did. This was my first year, and I've forgotten about that. This is the first time I've tried it. When I went to the GPC convention last year in Massachusetts, everybody used it. I haven't sat down and compared all of my previous years with this year's growth. I can say that the pumpkin, my biggest pumpkin this year, was consistently a few 100 pounds bigger than my one the year before. It's my understanding that Florel inhibits your first, we'll say 30 days worth of growth, and then thereon, it sends it into overdrive. I didn't necessarily see that. I can say it was bigger, it was faster, but it wasn't anything where I was getting really excited.
Right.
I could see the potential. If we didn't have, sorry, this fly is just bugging me. Haven't taken a shower in a month. I could see there was a path at one point for me to get to 2,000 pounds, and it's kind of you start doing that math, like I got this many days left, and
yep.
the average, and you kind of start having fun with it, and then we get those 40-degree nights, and I'll go to a pot. So, I'll do it again. I don't see any reason not to. So why not?
Right. I used Florel this year, and I mean, from what I can tell, like you, I did not have these super huge jumps. I was, early in the season, I was writing you guys, and I was like, man, a 15-day-old pumpkin is 100 pounds, right? So I'm getting excited because I've never grown a 15-day-old pumpkin to be 100 pounds, and I was getting pumped. It seemed like it came on a little faster. Maybe it was just the fertilizer I was using. Maybe it was because my soil was a little bit better this year than previous years. I'm not sure, but it did seem like I had a great growth curve on that pumpkin compared to the rest of them. Like it literally seemed like the growth curve was going to be a lot longer period of time, that we were going to do more weight for a longer period. So instead of just getting 25 days to 50 days and having that growth curve there for that 25 days, it seemed like it would extend further than that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, here's the thing that gets me with, I think I do pretty good, and I'm happy with my level. Of course I want more, right? We always want more. I feel like, you're pretty happy. I know Ben was having a killer year.
Right.
Until he didn't.
Right.
Jacob Morencer, like a lot of the YouTube type people are having great years. And even though we as a group of people who put it out there for people to see, like our gains, our pumpkins are small compared to, think of like the Paytons and the Don Barons and the Travis Gingers and those guys who at day 20 have, like a 300, 400 pound pumpkin. And, now, what are the rumors? Is it 20, is it 28? Is it 2,900 pound pumpkin? So that really puts it into perspective on, we think we're doing a really good job and we think we're pushing it. And the truth probably is that the vast majority of us are not, and we're not maximizing. And it really racks my brain because I'm a full ass kind of guy who, over the top, like, what can I do? And I feel like I'm doing a lot of those things, but I'm getting a fraction of what those guys get. So then it's like, what the heck do they do? Is it, and it's part of its weather and it's where they're located at, those are significant advantages that I try to mitigate with a greenhouse. But, then it just makes you just like, you scratch your head. Like, what are they doing that just blows everybody else out of the water. It's fun to think about, and that's part of the fun in my mind of it is there's always somebody to chase, and that's you want to do better.
Right. It's like Dan Sutherland. How does he grow an 18-pound tomato?
Oh my God! I mean, I was impressed with my 5-pound tomato.
Right, exactly. And then this guy's growing a beach ball sized tomatoes, right? And it's like, how does he do that?
Right.
Because of all the great tomato growers there are, this guy is killing it, So, I mean, I get it. I'm the same way. And you really do have to say, like me, I couldn't break 2 pounds, for nothing. Finally, I got over 3 pounds this year. And I'm like, all right, great. But then I'm like, but why did they only go 3 pounds? They should have been 4 or 5 pounds. What did I do wrong? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I'm doing, if you open up the book and the book says everything you need to do, most of us, we follow it to the letter.
Yep.
And that's where my dip in motivation, and I shouldn't, because you never know how heavy they are. And
right.
At the end of the year, I'll probably kick myself, and I always do it like, I shouldn't have given up. I should have pulled the weed, blah, 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 blah. I do it every year, and I say I'm not going to, but I do. But, we all follow the instructions, and when we don't reach those goals that we set in our mind, or we think that we're good enough where we should be, like personally, I mean, I do. I'm like, God, crumbs, get a little frustrated, and like I should do better, or I need to change this, that, or the other thing. When the fact of it is that, it's probably nothing big that we're doing. It's little things that you need to do the same thing and make small tweaks on the dial to really hone in on what works best for you in your particular situation.
Right. And I think you're spot on with that. I've noticed a huge difference in everything I've grown this year, and I've pounded compost tea and pounded biologics, right? And everything has done tremendously well. I've never been a person, like I was telling them earlier, I've never been a person that's grown a heavy to chart pumpkin. Last year I had one that was like 11% heavy, and then I had my 2 biggest ones were only 2 and 3% heavy. Everything else went light to chart, which is pretty much what I grow. This year, everything I've pulled has been heavy to chart, thick walled, and I'm like, what did I do differently? So I start looking, and the only difference was a lot of compost tea, a lot of Azos, Mycos, Versity, right? So then I'm like, okay, now I have to build upon that. Like I've got the recipe, right? Like I've got the recipe build, now I just got to figure out those fine-tuned things, like making biscuits, right? You read the back of the bag, and biscuits will say you need 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of milk. But I guarantee you put that 1 cup of milk in that 2 cups of flour, and it's just too thick. You really can't do much with it. So right. You have to add a little bit more milk to it, right? So you're building your own recipe build at that point. And that's kind of like what we all have to do. We have to tweak it to our environment, our situation, our soil, and just kind of build off of that. And I think the reason why those guys see so much success compared to us is they've been growing a lot longer than us in the same soil, whereas we're still me especially, is still trying to build the soil up to be something good enough to grow in and learning all the while. So, I mean, I don't know that I kind of look at it like this. If you were to put me or you or Jacob in the Patton's patch, I bet you we could grow a 2,000 plus pound pumpkin.
Sure.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, because we got the knowledge, we got the know-how. We just don't have the soil right, or something's off, right? That we're trying to figure out and tweak. But guarantee you put us in Don Barron's patch, the Peyton's patch, you put us in Travis Ginger's patch, we're going to pull a 2,000 pounder out of there.
It was really interesting too at the GPC convention. I got to talk with the Peytons a good bit, and they're awesome guys, very open book. Like they don't believe in secrets. They will literally show you everything, and it's really cool. Their methodology of fertilization and plant care is really on a week by week basis. They'll get a test every single week, and based upon what those test results are will dictate what they fertilize. And me, if we say my total volume daily is like, I don't know, a pint worth of fertilizer, their daily or their weekly is like a pint a week in totality. So they're just feeding just very small amounts of fertilizer, but it's just the specifics of what they need. There's no fluff. It's a lot of it's calcium nitrate and minimal amounts of anything else. So, like you said, they just have their growing environment really, really dialed in, so that the plants, in large part, take care of themselves. Barrier vines feed what and where it's needed, and they just let it do what it's going to do.
Right. Do you think that if you start doing weekly soil tests or tissue tests, that you would use less fertilizer? Like, do you think you'd be around about where they're at then?
I don't know. It was a goal of mine to be a lot more scientific this year, and as the summer went on, and we just I'm a dad. Shoot, I'm wearing my dad shirt. I'm a dad first, and as the desire to do more with the family, kicks in, and we went camping several times, and you go fishing, and you drive the buggy, and you do all the things that pulls my attention. I mean, you're a father of 3, and whoever's watching, if you have kids, you know how it goes.
Yep.
You just get split, and the less attention you're able to give to the giant pumpkin, the smaller it's going to be ultimately.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if I had an unlimited amount of free time, I definitely, I really think that you could, you could do experiments like, okay, this is what my soil test says, and this week I'm going to feed CalMac and
Right.
just see what it does, and then you could see what that change in your soil test is. But it's also it's a mini year thing. Like, you have to do that for a few years to gather the data that, okay, these are the changes that I see in my soil when I add fertilizer X, Y, or Z. And then at the end of that, start on the 4th year, you have your playbook of, I know what changes are going to change when I add this, that, or the other thing. But then there's always the wild card of the genetics, the plant itself. Like, I planted the same seed, and the plants act totally different. The pumpkins look, now that they're getting aged, they're about the same color, but the plant just characteristics were totally different. So, it's always just best guess.
Right. Well, and you're as far as the kids go, you're right. Like, I noticed this year, when I figured out that the weather wasn't going to cooperate, I just kind of threw my hands up in the air and was just like, I'm going to go boating with the kids and fish a lot. You know what I mean?
Right.
The heck with this pumpkin growing stuff. I'm going to go have fun with the kids. And that's what we've done. But kind of talking to you tonight, I'm kind of thinking that it may be possible to do both if we were to do the weekly tests, or weekly tissue tests. It would tell us what our pumpkins need. We wouldn't really have to play guessing games with it. We could feed them what they need and still go have time to go play with the kids, because we would know exactly what they're needing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then we're not having to go out there and read the plant ourselves and look at everything. We can kind of have our generalized look over and say, okay, well, my tissue test told me this. I'm going to feed that, and I'm going to walk away till next week.
And that's on my, the one thing that I know I want to change for sure next year. I'm taking a page out of Ben. Ice cream delivery.
Hey, look, I got a brownie too. We can eat ice cream and brownie.
But the one change that I know I'm going to make is I'm going to take inspiration from Ben and Morencer, and I'm going to put weed fabric down, because that's one of my biggest time sucks late in the season. Just one of the things that makes me lose the largest amount of motivation is just seeing a forest of flipping weeds, and there's nothing you can do about it. Especially when you're at the point where I'm at, where I have tons of seeds. Like I want to be more proactive this winter in tilling, watering, sprouting, and trying to get a lot of them out of there. But if you have weed fabric down, like Ben said, he was talking to me. He's like, it's a little more time investment up front, but then you figure, August at some point, you're done. You water it, you scoot the pumpkin back, you keep an eye out for disease or bug pressure or something. But because you have everything covered with weed fabric, you're ready to rock and roll.
Right. And you don't have to worry about the rain being on the entire vine. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, that's what kills my stuff here, is rain being all along the vine. If I got that barrier and it's only where I got the root node at that the soil touches, then the rain and the soil is not going to be a problem for me.
Yeah. And those guys like Jacob, I'm really looking forward to see what Jacob has. Jacob and his family. I mean, shoot, I don't got an Jacob has 3 kids, and they're very active. So I need to quit slacking. I need to be more like Jacob. But
yeah, right.
Guys like Jacob and Ben. I mean, Ben's got, I don't know if he is public yet, but he's working on, things to really improve his grow. And Jacob's been dialing in his greenhouse for several years. So it definitely can be done, but I think they do things that enable just time savings where they can have their ice cream and eat it too, I suppose.
Right. How big do you think that pumpkin is that Jacob's got?
Oh man, I don't know.
Do you think it breaks 2,000? I think it does.
I hope so. I think so. Jacob likes to play the game.
He does.
Jacob's a big old sandbagger. But I believe him. I think he does. I texted him and I said, I hope you get a double 2,000. And he told me not to jinx him or something. But I think and hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's got one that's going to be over 2,000, and that's going to be pretty cool. Because everybody gives him this grief. Oh, just 10 pounds away, just 10 pounds away. You know what I mean? and like, I don't care who you are. A 1,990 pound pumpkin is a massive pumpkin. You know what I mean?
He weighed that in at Nick's Way Off in Aurora, the closest way off to me, and that was super awesome to see that in person. And then it goes back to Jacob and the Paytons. 2,000 pound pumpkin is a truly massive pumpkin, but then there's 2,900 pound pumpkin and a 2,700 pound pumpkin. So 2,000 pounds is, when you put it on that scale, it's in the middle.
Right.
Which is it's crazy to think.
It really is, man. But, at the end of the day, it's all for fun. And if you're not having fun, you're doing something definitely wrong.
Yep.
And even 1,000 pound pumpkins make people's eyeballs go like this. You know what I mean?
People ask me why do I do it? And that's nail on the head there. It's the reaction that you get from people. And you're driving to a way off and you have a pumpkin on a trailer or in the back of your truck and somebody blows past you and all of a sudden you see the brake lights and they come back and they're like, holy crap, are they trying
doing this?
Exactly, yeah. And it's just that reaction, and it's answering the questions. Is it real? And do you feed it milk? And how big are the seeds? And just the reaction from people is it's a ton of fun. And then, we as pumpkin growers, we know what goes into it. So when, when I send seeds, I imagine when you send seeds to, like, I get young kids or older people that write me letters and tell me, what growing a giant pumpkin has meant to them for the year, or watching the videos and just the experience. Like, that's why I do it. And with my own children as well, my kids come out there and they're super excited. And even me, I've been doing it for 8 years now, and it's still exciting to me. So it's just the fun and the joy that it brings, not only you as a grower, but to other people around you. That's the best part.
Yeah, and I agree, man. It's definitely the news came out here, and they asked, what's the best part about it or something like that, and I said, it's not about the records. Do I like the records? Yeah, I like the records. That's fun, but it's not that's not the goal. The goal is to see you smile whenever I pull this gigantic thing out, and you're like, "What is that?" Like today, I took my rutabaga to go get it weighed again. I broke my rutabaga record again today, right? So I take it to the post office and I weighed it, and it's sitting there on the floor. And my buddy Sonny is the postmaster, so we're sitting there talking, and these old guys come in one after another, right? What is that thing? What is that thing? Oh my goodness! I see you on Facebook. I see you on YouTube. I see you, on Hinton News or whatever, right? And they're all, I'm so proud of what you've done in this area, right? Like, and I'm like, I appreciate that, like, to me, that means something, because these guys are old farmers. They've been doing this stuff all their life, and they're asking me, well, what advice can you offer me, to help me with this or that or whatever. And I take that as a real honor and a compliment, that they would even, because I'm just doing this stuff for fun. I'm not doing it for a living, and they're doing it for a living. And so, it really is all about the reactions that people have to it. I mean, it's worth every bit of it. All the sucking, the stress, the anxiety, the depression sometimes, right? It's just like, oh, it's all worth it to see somebody light up when they're in their 60s, 70s, 80s, light up like a kid all over again, and be like, what is that? How did you do that? Right. I mean, right. There's nothing better than that.
There was a guy for, I think 4 years. There was a guy who sent me a bubble every year, and his name was Poppy, and he lived in a retirement home, and he said that he grew giant pumpkins to entertain all the old people. Unfortunately, Poppy hasn't sent me a seed request in a few years.
Oh no!
So I fear the worst for Poppy, but it's just that it's somebody, an old guy in a retirement home who knows how old he was, but watching videos that he liked, that he wanted to do that, he did it. It brought enjoyment to people in his community, so it's a blast.
It is, and
a roller coaster, like you said. It's all of those emotions,
all of them. Summer. And it's like sometimes it's all of them at once, because you can have one pumpkin that you're super excited about that's giving you anxiety because you're like, God, I hope it don't blow. Right. Then you can have one that blows up on you and is making you kind of depressed, right? Because you're like, oh, that's sad. That one blew up on me or rotted on me or whatever. Like you'll have all these, like the entire summer you're walking around and you're just a ball of nerves and different emotions the entire year, right? But I don't think there's any better way that I would want to spend my time than growing a giant whatever. You know what I mean? Like they're all fun. They're all worth it. And I have a ton of fun for it or with it. And, I always got to say, like you and Mark were the first two people that I found on YouTube in 2020 and learned a ton from, so if it wasn't for you and Mark and Jacob, right, and some of the other ones that are out there, if it wasn't for them guys, especially you, Jacob, and Mark, because you guys were the three biggest ones out at the time in 2020 when I started watching that you could like really find lots of content for. If it wasn't for you guys putting it out there, I wouldn't be as successful as I am, because I wouldn't know where to go, where to start or anything. And if it wasn't for you giving seeds to me that first year, I wouldn't have known. I'd had to go back to Amazon and get them. You know what I mean? Like, and then things were junk, so it's really a community full of people who want to see others around them succeed. You know what I mean? Like we do. We want, as bad as we want the record for ourselves, we don't mind if the other guy gets it.
No, it keeps it challenging. It keeps it fun. and it keeps it from being boring. If you won every year, what's the fun in that? That's why I watch sports. Of course you want your team to win, but if you were like the Patriots, that's why everybody hates that they win for so long and just gets boring.
Right.
Nobody likes that. And that's not what we want. And it's definitely like I want Jacob to grow a massive pumpkin 1 pound smaller than mine.
Right. Yeah, right.
Out of the man. But if he beats me, like, hey, who cares? Then, I got to grow a pumpkin 1 pound bigger than his next year. And
that's right. So
anybody whose idea of a good time is rolling around in the dirt, chances are you're a pretty good person. And the people, there's a handful of
less than desirables, put it that way.
Yeah. There's a hand, but the amount of those that ratio is single digits by a fraction of a single digit versus everybody else who's awesome people. And there's some old grumpy curmudgeon people. Hey, that's how they roll. You ignore them, you don't let them bring you down, and you gravitate towards the positive people and the positive aspects, and just let them do whatever they're going to do. Who cares?
Right, because eventually they'll quit. They'll get out of the game, or they'll retire, or they'll just get old and croak.
Yep.
They'll be out of the way eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
So they don't have to put up with it no more. But yeah, man. So is there anything specifically you can think of that you want to change next year? And that's going to be my last question.
The weave fabric, that's definitely one. That's the main. Well, there's the two main ones. I think the weave fabric is part A of my change, and part B will be probably, like you mentioned before, some combination of more testing and being more scientific. When I grew the state record, I pH'd my water. I was using my ppm meter religiously. I did it every day. And this year I went back to my glug and scoop and a pinch and a toss and a handful of X, Y, or Z. And I didn't adjust my pH one time, not even a little bit. And I used my HANA checker, my ppm meter, my EC meter, maybe 5 times or something, and that's not good enough for the goals that I've set for myself. So I have to, not be lazy. I need to get out of bed a half an hour earlier and get out there and do it. And if I use the weed fabric, which then will free up time so I don't have to pull weeds, should free up time to use the EC meter to be a little more scientific, because I just don't have a ton of free time.
Right.
So I think those two go hand in hand with my goals. I just got to do it.
Right. And that's really, it really comes down to time. How much time do you have? Me and Travis has talked about this before on our live stream, wanting to spend more time with the kids, wanting to spend more time with the family, really not having a drive to grow. Yeah, we want to grow a pumpkin, a big pumpkin, but we don't have that, not having a drive to really push ourselves to grow anything bigger. The motivation's just not there. I can grow a 1,000+ pound pumpkin easy, just with a pinch, a glug, and a chug here and there, and going about my day. But those little steps, like the pH and doing those types of things, is the separation from being a good grower and a great grower.
Absolutely. Yep. It's just those little turns of the dial.
Yep.
Travis is lucky. Travis works basically at home, and he with his job, if he needs to cut a 10-foot rock in half, that's going to take a few days. So, hey, while that's running, while I'm working, let me go mix some fertilizer, take some measurements, make some logs, record that information that he gets in, so that, when he needs to make a change, he knows exactly what needs to be done to make that change.
You're right. And Travis is just another great guy, full of information that don't care to give it out. You know what I mean? So
I sat next to Travis in his bright orange shoes at the convention, and we talked a lot. And it's just super nice guy. I mean,
He's an
everybody,
excellent.
everybody's great guys.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
I did tell him today, though. I told him, I said, you better pray that Michael Jordan doesn't find out that you named that ugly pumpkin after him. Because if he does, he's going to file a lawsuit against you for that.
Do you know what the rumors are? Like how big that is?
We'll talk after this.
Understood.
Yeah, we'll talk after this. So it's big. It's big. So yeah. Well, that's all I'll say. So
I hope he gets because Half Moon Bay, if you get the U.S. record, that's like $30,000 or something, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
And then that changes the dynamic of everything, because if you even have the potential to make $30,000, that's a sizable chunk of a yearly revenue if you could make $30,000 in one swipe.
Well, think about this. That will be the second time in a row that he's done that. Well, like last year and this year, right? And he did it in 2020 too.
Yeah.
So
and he was talking about the Mr. Hanky test and whatever, and some of that stuff was so over my head, and I fell asleep on it because I'm like, I don't need, that's malarkey. And now I'm like, why? I was a moron. Like, why did I not listen to what one of the best growers had to say and was telling us what he did and this and that and the other thing? I'm like, because I'm a dipstick. That's why.
There are a lot of people who have wrote me and said, I totally disagree with what Travis said on your live stream and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, you can disagree with it all you want, but the proof is in the pudding. This guy's putting up some big numbers every year. So if it were me, I would just do as he says.
Like, there's a million ways to skin a cat.
That's true. That is very true. And it could be his growing conditions that he's able to do some of these things, whereas you might not be able to do it there where you're at. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But you could try it and see. You know what I mean? But I mean, he's full of information and he don't care to give it out and share it. And I think a lot of Travis too, because he's helped me a ton. He's never what would you say, bash or belittle or think he's above me, right? He's always been like, what are you doing? And tell me exactly how you're doing it, and then we'll go from there. You know what I mean? And he's been a wealth of knowledge. So very, very helpful. But yeah, we'll go ahead and end this here. I'm going to read off who we got coming up the next couple of weeks, and then me and you will chat after this. We'll end it and we'll chat. So next week, the 26th, we've got Randall from Extreme Gardening and Travis Ginger going to be on. We're going to talk about wrapping up the season and finishing up, how big our pumpkins are, or not. I might tell you, I will have weighed mine already. So I'll tell you how big it was. Travis won't tell you how big it is, and I'm not going to tell you either. October 3rd, Yogi Hollow Farm will be on with us. October 11th, Tony from Kettle Kitchen will be on with us. That's going to be on a Wednesday. October 17th, Acorn Creek Farmstead will be on. October 24th, Seven Ken Homestead will be on. October 31st, November 7th, November 14th, 21st, and 28th are open. So if you guys wanted any of those dates, message me at babydrill2119@yahoo.com, and we will get you scheduled for a live stream. December 5th, we have Enoch Graham, the Urban Gardener, coming back on. December 12th, 19th, and 26th are open. So if you want any of those dates, email me again at babydrill2119@yahoo.com, and we'll get you scheduled for those.
Hold on. Your email is babygirl219?
Baby Drill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Drill. Yeah, no.
No judgment.
So I guess here's how that email started. So whenever I was in the Army, right before we graduated, I snuck into the drill sergeant's office and I grabbed the brown round, the hat that they wear, right? Which you wasn't allowed to touch it. Like if it fell off their head, you wasn't allowed to pick it up. But I snuck into their office and I grabbed their brown round out and put my Class A's on, went into the bathroom and had my buddies take pictures of me with the brown round on, acting like a drill sergeant, right? So then they all followed. We all stayed together. Well, not all of us, but the majority of us stayed together. So they would call me Baby Drill. And that's where that whole thing come up, is Baby Drill Sergeant, is where so I needed an email address. So I thought, well, Baby Drill worked. So I used that and the last 4 of my telephone number back then. So, that's where that come from.
And everybody, this is Max. Max, say hi to everybody.
Hey, hi. What's going on, Max?
Max, how old are you going to be soon?
5.
All right.
When's your birthday?
October 3rd.
October 3rd. And tell everybody what you want for your birthday.
October 3rd?
Don't freeze up. Now's your chance.
I'm trying to think, Dad.
Do you want
marble set,
set?
And then twisting car, and then I want some of those magnets and then some dominoes.
Okay, so if you guys want to give Max a birthday present, that's what he wants.
There you go.
Say
it one more time.
Bye.
So you want a marble set, a twisty car,
and some of those magnets, and then
some magnetiles.
No, not the real ones.
Oh, okay.
And then dominoes.
Then some dominoes.
Mm-hmm.
What you want
Dominoes are fun. Play bones, man.
Stack them, right? That's what
Right.
We've been gambling.
Well, guess what, Max? My oldest boy, who's sitting beside me, his birthday's October 3rd. Oh, no, sorry, my bad. 4th. October 4th, my fault.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough. It was my stepmom who's got October 3rd. That's right. So, yep. All right. Well, look, guys, I'm going to hop off of here, and we appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see y'all next time right here in the Hollers and Hills, West Virginia. See y'all.
Bye.